I think we're live. Here we go. Lance, Cortez, Ito, I think you go by.
Yeah, sometimes.
I never actually got to call you Ito. I always call you Lance, but I don't know which one you prefer. But
no preference.
you're one of the co-owner and co-founding fathers of RetrowareTV.
Yep.
And I remember, it was late 2014, I think you approached me. It was very early days on my channel when I started doing this, and asking me if I wanted to join RetroWare, and I was like, because I was a big fan of everything RetroWare. I was watching a lot of stuff from the Game Chasers, and I just discovered Norm and the Pat the NES Bunk and Pixel Dan and all these fine people. So I was like, oh yes, please, that was awesome. And I've been in RetroWare sort of ever since. It's been great. It's been fantastic. Heaps of fun, and I met some really nice people. So I have you to thank for that.
Yeah, it's a great community.
Yeah, and it's one thing we met a few times actually. I've been to the Retro World Expo, which you helped organize back then. I don't know if you're still involved in that, but we got to chat a bit, but not that much because you're super busy when that's on. So I was always trying to catch you while you were running from one place to the other, but that wasn't easy. But I've always wanted to chat with you about RetroWare and how it started. How did it all begin? When was it?
You know, it's been about 11 years now. You know, I had recently graduated from college, and I was working at a post-production facility, not really doing what I really wanted to do, but it was like paying the bills nicely. So it's kind of just needed some kind of like some outlet to you know, do the things that I wanted to do. So the year prior, I had met John D'Elia, because we had both worked at A&E television networks. And we were both into games, and you know, I was heavily inspired by, as so many, the angry video game nerd. That I'm like, you know what, this YouTube thing. YouTube is like rather new. You know,
yeah.
You're still at 240p videos and stuff like that, and I'm like, let's just try doing stuff and. You know, making videos about, you know, history of games and with some reviews mixed in, and you know, so I approached him about it, and we just started doing it. And the initial idea was just to do our thing and put it up there, and it is what it is, and never make it like a full-time career. And still not to this day. It's always been a hobby, with some nice perks, but
yeah.
You know, so we decided to start making content, and you know, we got some positive feedback from that. Shortly after that, we met up with a fan of the show at the time, Ben Hall, who at the time was doing video reviews for handheld games. His show, Video Game Takeout, and you know, we were like, oh, you know, we have this website. Why don't you kind of be a part of it? And from there, it kind of snowballed. You know, he had joined up, and then shortly after, I forget the order. I believe it was Norm, Dan, and then Derek. Norm, the gaming historian, Dan, Pixel Dan, and Derek from the Happy Video Game Nerd. Now,
That's right.
you know, now he has a skeleton show, but yeah, and just kind of snowballed into adding more and more people, kind of making it more of a communal thing, and you know, just kind of took off from there.
There was it's quite a story you hear often about the early days of YouTube and things snowballing like that. There's a lot of websites and content creator groups of content creator. Like, it's a similar story. Like, it's just they were making stuff for themselves and then snowballed. Other people joined them. Like, that wouldn't quite happen nowadays. I think these days are gone. but there was such an excitement with YouTube at the time as well, when it was just new and fresh. Even as a user, it was just so unbelievably cool and novel, you know. Yeah, and so you were making your own content as well then.
Yes, yeah. We're doing, you know, we started Retroware as its own show, Retroware the show, and the idea was to make it like a television format, where you would watch a full 30-minute episode, and we would have 4 reviews, and then the way media kind of changed, we decided that's not the best format, where everybody wants, you know, small snippets, not these long type of videos. So we did change that up, but you know, then started doing more and more side things, you know, my arcade show and just reviews of products, and you know, things kind of snowballed.
Yeah.
And I apologize in advance. I think that was your question. It was actually very low.
So. I don't have anything written for these anyway, so there's no agenda or question. So discussion can just go in any direction we want.
Okay.
So don't.
So, but I'm sorry. That is what you asked, though, right? Like,
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But yeah. I actually I very much enjoyed your arcade show at the time as well, and it's actually a lot of. These videos actually sort of prompted me as well to get more into arcade machines. I have a small but healthy collection now, so yeah, I kind of have you to thank for that as well. I just remember going to your house. I think it was the first year of the Retro World.
Yeah, the first one, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was it was the first one ever, wasn't it? And we're in your place with. I think Dan was there and Norm was there. We were just playing a few games, and then they were like, "You should ask him to have a look at his collection." I was like, "Oh, okay, fair enough." And you brought me to your your basement, and there was a line of arcade machines, and said you probably had a few of them at the expo as well. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. About 13 or so down there, something like that.
Yeah. It was quite a nice setup, and I'd never see, because I think they're getting more popular actually, arcade machine nowadays. I'm seeing, or maybe I'm more involved than they're coming up a lot more in my feeds.
No, it is. It is and it isn't. I don't think. You know, there are definitely more and more people getting involved with it, especially with you know, the advent of all these emulation Raspberry Pi things people do, but. In general, maybe even more so now than actual home console stuff, arcade prices are going up and up and up and up, and console stuff was going up for a while and kind of, you know, remained pretty level. I think, at least for last year, but like arcade prices, for whatever reason, keep going up. I mean, tubes and all that stuff are harder and harder to find these days, so it kind of makes sense why. But you know, and a lot of people, you know, threw these type of machines either out or they converted them to something else. So finding like a dedicated Pac-Man or a dedicated Mortal Kombat, you know, Mortal Kombat's probably one of the ones that suffers the most of being converted into like a Golden Tee or something like that.
Yeah, I just restored a Pac-Man Cabaret cab.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
Just finished yesterday actually. Put the art on, and yeah, especially the Cabaret ones. They're getting super rare nowadays, and they fetch quite a price. I got it a while back for very, very nice amount. I think it was $100 or $150, like, which is nothing. But it had been converted to something else, so it took a while. It took a while to bring him back to a Pac-Man. But you have to do it. You can't, because these are gone. That's it. Like, there's only, I don't know how many there were made, but very well. Pac-Man is probably one that was, you know, made in large quantities, but not the Cabaret. And but any arcade machines, like, they weren't made in the quantities you know, like carts and,
Yep.
and consoles. But it's interesting to what you said, that the consoles have sort of stagnated in price, and the PCB, the arcade PCBs at least, and even the tubes have just skyrocketed. Even in I started properly restoring and collecting 2 years ago, maybe 3, but even in that small space of time, like, I've seen them just almost double in price for some of them. It's quite crazy, like. And
yeah, it's kind of interesting, because I want to say I've probably been messing with the arcades for maybe about 8 years. And when I first started, there was a decent amount of third-party restoration websites, but even that has I feel grown a bit, where you have tons of people making replacement artwork for this stuff. The one that unfortunately suffered was some parts for monitors and stuff like that. There's new people who have stepped up and tried to fill that niche, because a big one was the Bob Roberts website. He's not selling stuff anymore, but still a resource. But yeah, I see more and more
what's the other guy?
Stores
Ian Keller.
trying to. Yes.
His name comes up a lot,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's and the community is always been pretty supportive for the most part. I would say even more so than console stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Where, you know, getting into the hobby, people are super friendly, you know, for the most part.
No, I have found the same stuff as well. There's, you know, there's politics involved in every community anyway. But as far as communities go, the arcade one is pretty supportive and encouraging of newcomers and people, especially if you show some interest in restoring stuff yourself, or learning some of the basics. So I've picked up a lot of knowledge from people, because as you said, I want to try and fix my own PCB as opposed to, you know, asking somebody else. And I do sometimes, you know, so if I can fix them myself, I you know, if it's simple enough, if it's just probing a few ICs here and there, and then looking at the schematics, I can do that. Sometimes it gets a bit more complex, and I have to have somebody for help. Or I did a couple of outrun boards that I didn't have a spare harness, because the harness was different, and you had to make your own one, and I didn't have the connectors because they're not available, etc. So I sent them to somebody for repair. Well, I was actually very smugly proud of myself, because on one of them I correctly identified or guessed which IC was causing the problem, and so I sent it and said, I suspect it's this one, and he corrected it straight away. Say, yeah, no, you were 100% right, it was this one. And I was like, yes, I kind of fixed it. But it's a super hobby. I think part of it, or a half of the pleasure you get from these arcade machines, is first finding them and restoring them yourself, I find.
Yeah. It's almost like an adventure. I mean, like, people always say, oh, you know, the hunt of, you know, game chasers, that's what that is they're hunting for these games. But I think even more so, I don't know, energizing or exciting, at least for me, is finding that cheap $150 NBA Jam or something like that, you know, something, and finding it and restoring it, because it's something just like making a house, you know, maybe not making a house, but, you know, doing a deck or something like that. You're restoring, you're bringing stuff back to life. It's work that you can physically see, and it's something I think people like to do as a hobby, you know, on their spare time. That is very joyful and rewarding, you know, because you get to see your finished work. One thing I do want to say is, I know you were a fan of the Strictly Arcade show that I was doing, and, you know, every once in a while I do get people to say, oh, you know, I loved your video and inspired me to do XYZ. You are the probably #1 person who I've seen that I potentially got, you know, interested in arcade stuff, that has probably like taken it to another level. Or like, I see, I like actually can see, like, wow, look at him, he's he restored this machine, or he kept this monitor, and you did it in such a quick, I think, time span, where like, he was just at my house like a month ago, and now he's like doing all this stuff. He's got like 4 machines now. So I see your Facebook updates. I'm like, oh wow, that's great, that's great. And the fact that you were able to learn so much so quickly, it was very impressive to me, and I gotta say kudos to you.
Thank you. I get obsessed with stuff. So if I get into something, I get into something 110%, and
right.
It's always been like that for me. Like I love surfing. I'm big into surfing and all that. And a few years back, I decided I could find, as I'm getting older, I can find myself just being a bit more, holding back a bit, and then being a bit more scared of some waves I was getting into. So I thought, okay, I need to get fitter, and I need to learn to take a few more on the head. So I started doing judo again. I'd done judo when I was a kid, but I never got my black belt back then. So I thought I'd start judo again. It's a good way to get fit. I learned not to, to fall properly, and then again, and take a few on the head and all. And I got so into it that I kind of stopped surfing. Because after that I picked up karate again as well to help me for judo, and then I got way too much into it, and I forgot about surfing, which was the reason why I got into these as well. But I just get 100% into things, which and
you do great. I mean, because you're such a handy person between art and playing instruments, and just to see, like, I don't want to say those, I mean, some of those skills do cross over to it, but obviously the art part, but like, it's like nice work done. It's not like slapped together. Like, oh, it looks really good now. So I'm really impressed on what you've been able to do with the hobby.
I think it's the same in every sort of artistic endeavor in general. It's obviously you need an interest, but the hardest part is starting. You kind of need to start, and I wouldn't be afraid of just coming up with shit, at the beginning and every now and then. But I think the second hardest part is for music. I always say a good musician shouldn't learn how to listen before learning how to play. Because if you don't learn how to listen, you're never going to better yourself. Because first you can't hear yourself, but you can't hear what others are doing well or what others are doing wrong. And I used to teach guitar a bit, and my recommendation, especially for guitar players, because they're a funny breed, and they always want everybody to hear what they can play. And I'm saying, no, it's just, before you start playing, just learn to listen, and listen. Drop the instrument, put that aside, and learn to listen to somebody else. And it's really, really tough. You find that surprisingly a large amount of people actually don't know how to listen properly, or how to take time to listen. But I'm getting off track again. But but yeah, that's what I did. Then I think literally after the first time we met, and when I saw your arcade room, I was like, oh yeah, no, I want some of these, because I was just so into arcade machines at the time when I was a kid, probably much more so than consoles. And I've great memories, so I wanted some of these back, and I was like, I got to learn how to, how to fix these as well, and how to acquire a few of these. So I think by the time I went back to the second year to Retro World, I had an Outrun and a Galaga, which are not easy cabs to find, but I managed to find one on the Isle of Man,
nice.
Which is an island just off the coast of Ireland, of all places. So yeah, that was cool. And I have you to thanks for that. Yeah,
because I'm not obviously from where you are, and it's interesting to see, the kind of the difference between what's potentially available over here versus over there. I've seen pictures of places you've gone, and it looks wide open, area. I'm like, how is he finding all these machines? There's like nothing there. It's just like this is a scenic, beautiful place where you live. And I'm like, yeah, they have tons of arcade machines over there, apparently.
Well, no, actually, not really anymore. But there used to be, because there was an Atari plant in Tipperary, in the south of Ireland.
Really?
Yeah, and so they were making cabs, Atari cabs for a lot of Europe. And then what I found out after a few years back, well, a few years, yeah, maybe a year back, was that they also were licensed by Sega to make some of their cabs. So the Outrun I have was made in Ireland. And what's been happening is that there was a lot of operators that obviously went out of business, but English collectors actually raided Ireland essentially and just, you know, came over with van loads, and because there was no interest collection really, or not much of it at the time. So they actually got a lot of the cabs from Ireland out to England and through Europe, and some of them actually made their way to America. You often find you hear of the Irish Dig Dug, and that's what it was. It was manufactured in Ireland, and so there's actually not much left. There used to be quite a lot more, just because of that Atari presence, but there's not much left. So it's very rare to find stuff in here, and the ones I have, well, I have Donkey Kong cab that I made from scratch, because even if you can find one, you don't find one for cheap. So I made that. It was a scratch build. I made it from scratch, and what was it? That Pac-Man I got from Coin Up Warehouse in America, and then a couple of cabs from England as well. And all of them were, with those cabs from England, were all Irish cabs. So I kind of glad I got them back into Ireland. And I have a couple of friends who are operators as well at this stage. So yeah, nice. Yeah, you find.
Yeah, I never knew that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's super. I can send you a few articles actually about it. My neighbor of all people came to my house one day and saw the collection. He said, "Oh, I have an Atari console if you want it." Or he said a computer, Atari computer. I thought he meant the 2600, and it was actually one of these Atari XC 600 XC or XL or something like that, and a ton of cards. So he gave me all that. There was an Amiga as well, and then we started talking. He said his uncle used to work in that factory in Tipperary.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and his job at the end, before the Atari factory closed down, but was to actually just go on site and repair Outrun cabinets. So I was like, oh, cool, I need to talk to him. But apparently he's a bit of a recluse now, doesn't really talk to people and doesn't really want to interact with the world, so it's going to be tricky. But it'd be super interesting to talk to this guy, because there's not many of them left around. Yeah, I'd love to know what he has. I'm sure he's got some great stories. But you can see that factory is still there. It's closed down, but it's still there. There's still an Atari sign on it.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
I would love to get the keys and walk into that, see what's inside. It's probably,
yeah, he's got a picture of it.
There's a picture somewhere on the internet. I'll send you all that stuff actually if you want. It's kind of cool, and there's a few vintage photos as well of all the assembly lines and workers, and it's really interesting actually. There's a great blog, Arcade Blogger. I don't know if you're aware of it. And it's a guy. He's a raider, so they go to all these just places in Europe and derelict buildings and that kind of stuff. There was a big raid in France. See, I can pull it up, where it was in a derelict building, and they got about 80 cabs out of it. But it was the place was falling down. We're talking Indiana Jones type of rescue operation here. It's really, really cool. I'll see if I can put it up. But I'd love to be a fly on the wall on those days. Not even to get a cab, but just to see to see the places. Just it's like what you were saying. It's the game chasing stuff. Arcade Blogger. I don't know. Anyway, but how many cabs have you?
What was that?
How many cabs do you have, or what cabs do you have? I know you have a few.
Oh, what cab? Oh, I have an original Donkey Kong that I put that upgrade chip so you can put DK2 Jumpman Returns in it. So I have one of those. I just sold my Punch Out. I had an original Punch Out. I sold that. I have a Virtual Racing Twin. It's sit down, both two sit down drivers. Yeah, it's a big one, but it's a great, Sega's first 3D racing game. So early in the 3D life cycle, and it still holds up pretty good. I have a sit-down cruising. I have a MK1 and MK2, both dedicated. I have two. It was the last game Midway made called The Grid. I have two of those, and I have an NBA Jam. I think that's all I have right now in the basement. I have a MAME arcade machine too. That is a 4-player control panel.
Yeah.
That just play all the different games and stuff like that for the kids and what have you. But I actually have a bunch of my machines ended up at a warehouse for the expo. Actually,
Yeah.
We bring them to the none of the machines we bring to the expo. So in the warehouse we have about like 30, 40 machines, something like that. Just all types of different stuff. Neo Geos, Afterburners, RoboCop, more Donkey Kongs, more Pac-Mans, that kind of stuff. So.
It was quite a sight when you walked in the Retro World Expo to see that lineup of arcade machines. There was a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, every year we've added more and more and more.
Yeah.
Last year we had a couple companies help contribute. There's a local chain over here called Barcade. They brought some machines. There's a local distributor, actually the biggest, I believe he's the biggest distributor in the Northeast that's still around of arcades, pinballs.com. He brought a bunch of pinball machines, and then we have people from outside also bring machines as well. We do like you bring a machine, you get a free admission type of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, last year we had to have, I would say about like 60 machines out for everybody to play. And moving them was a pain in the butt. But,
They're heavy beasts, and some of them are just, I don't know what they put in them, but Outrun is an especially heavy one for the show.
It's mysteriously, there's no reason for it to be that heavy, but it's just like this dense machine.
It's solid. It's not going to fall apart. I think it's because of those shaker motors. They want to make sure that the thing doesn't fall apart when it's
that shaker is pretty.
I switch it off on mine. I can't deal with it. It's too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool. And then you had a few auctions, arcade auctions at the expo as well. I remember.
What was that?
You had a few arcade auctions as well at the.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, so every year did we do it? We did do it the first year. Every year we have an auction, and we auction off console stuff and some arcade stuff as well. Last year was mostly PCBs, but actual machines. Anybody can bring one if they want to auction one off.
Yeah.
And,
this is, I don't know if you can see the screen here. This is the what I was talking about, the raids that these guys do. So they go to these buildings.
Oh, nice.
And they get a call, and then I'd love to actually have one of them on the podcast as well and hear the stories of these raids.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you can see like it's genuinely dangerous in some places. They had to leave a few on sites because they couldn't access them without risking their lives, pretty much.
So in this building's locked off, you're saying? Like it's not easy to get in there?
Somebody bought it and realized there was all these machines in it, so they rang a few people who got them in contact with collectors, etc., etc. But the place was so derelict that in some areas of the building it was just too dangerous to even walk on the you can see the ceiling and the roof is just collapsing in some places. It was quite crazy. They have a few videos of them as well. It was quite the adventure. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Yeah, but when I think of retroware as well, I think of the video game years, and I believe the show has made it now as well on Amazon Prime. Is that correct?
Yeah. mid last year, mid 2017, we put it on Amazon Prime. And that's honestly, that's where it's gotten the most attention.
Yeah.
I mean, we always did well on YouTube, but Amazon really, kind of blew it up for us as far as the views and the interest in the show. So much, in fact, that we are looking to continue that show for a second season.
Nice.
So we were looking into doing that, potentially might be doing a Kickstarter or something like that for it after the summer this year.
Yeah.
More information to come on that. But yeah, that is 100% a idea of John D'Elia from Retroware. I mean, he thought let's do I Love the 80s but with video games, and he took that idea and ran with it. He got everybody on the side involved, mostly Pat Contry, Pat the NES Punk. He's heavily involved with that show as well.
Yeah, he did a lot of work for the show, didn't he?
Yeah, he did a lot of work. But they both did. They both did more work than I did. I'm not going to lie.
No, it shows it's a great show. I always enjoyed it, and I always thought it was criminal that it was just on YouTube, sorry, because good as there's some very good content on YouTube, but I don't think it was the platform for it at all. And I think a platform like Amazon or even Netflix, if I'm honest about it, it's that good content.
I mean, it's a binge show. It really is. I mean, in YouTube, you go to YouTube for more of normal updates. Amazon and like you said, Netflix. If you have a catalog of episodes, in which case we had the whole season of the video game here. People just watched it and they watched the next episode and watched. It's a totally different audience. You go to YouTube for a couple minutes, where Amazon, you're at your couch, you're just keep going. So it's found its niche, I believe, and we hope to continue that success.
It's great to see, and because I remember Pat was putting small sections of the show on his channel at the time as well.
Yep.
And these weren't doing good at all, really. Compared to his other stuff, they just weren't getting the views they should have gotten.
Right.
I always thought it was such a shame because, it's cool. I'm absolutely delighted for you guys. I rewatch the show regularly. I have the DVDs, and I have them in. It's in our gym actually, and I often watch them running.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool because there's actually a very enjoyable rewatch value as well with these. I don't know, maybe it's because it brings back a lot of memories for me anyway, and I was there for most of it at the time, so I relate to the content and the games. But it's something I rewatch regularly. That's cool. Even the music, there's something about the music that you guys used that is evocative of my youth in the arcades and playing video games.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I don't know why.
I mean, a lot of that's Kevin MacLeod, I'm not gonna lie.
It's really well put together show, I have to say. And I'm delighted to see it on Amazon. So there's a chance that you're gonna do another iteration of the show. Yeah,
I mean, because it's a very expensive show.
Yeah,
really expensive actually, in both money wise and time wise. At first, most of those early stuff was John editing everything together. I helped out with the first couple episodes and cleaning up and stuff like that. But then we started getting other editors involved, and paying them to put these together, from assembly cuts to more finished cuts with better transitions and graphics, whatever. So we have to pay people to do that for us, because it's such a time-consuming thing. There's no way John or myself or even Pat exclusively could do that stuff. So and that's what kind of held it up for a while. And it wasn't until this Amazon thing that it kind of made sense to do a continuation of it, because it's a large commitment, not just money wise, but time wise. And we all have personal lives and stuff like that. So, you know, it's a labor of love. Everybody loves working on the show. It's just, it's nice to finally get some recognition for it after, you know, it's been out for a while now, and it's only recently that it's kind of picked up. So, but yeah, we're looking forward to continuing it.
And are you looking for other platforms for it as well, or is...
You know, we've actually, you know, I don't know how much you can say, but you know, we have been approached by smaller people that you know, have potential interest in the show. But right now, we're really just going to focus on the way it is now. You know, where it's on Amazon, a little bit on YouTube, and what have you. So, but I mean, the more eyeballs we can get, the better. So it's not like a no.
Yeah.
Potential to pitch it to somebody. You know, it's something that's potentially up for conversation, I would say.
But Amazon Prime they're not exclusive, are they? They don't require exclusivity on the content.
What was that?
Do Amazon Prime require an exclusivity on the content?
No, it's not Amazon exclusive.
Okay.
And even if you don't have Prime, there are ways to watch it. Obviously, YouTube. You could actually buy it digitally on Prime as well.
Okay.
And you can buy. We do still sell the DVDs at the RetroWare store, but not really sure. You know, the demand has to be there for a continuation of a physical release.
Of course, yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's something that's off the table at all. But you know, if there's enough demand, then why not fill that demand for more physical releases of it?
Physical release are so expensive to do, and there's actually so little margin on it nowadays as well. It's
yeah.
Is it even worth it anymore? I mean, I was talking to okay, I gotta tread carefully. I think I'm on non-disclosure agreement here, but I was talking to somebody who runs a game company, and they're gonna release a game, and they've announced that the game will be actually available physically in America only. So a lot of people in Europe are wondering why, and I, you know, being obviously disappointed. And I was talking to the guy, and he said, it's funny. It's actually, first, the margin is so little that, you know, it's actually we're doing people a favor more than anything. But he said, at least in America, we can actually make a small margin on the physical release. But he said in Europe, there are so many middlemen and so many bylaws and so many people just wanting a share. That he said on a physical release of a video game, you're only making like $1 or $2 or something like that. I don't have the exact figure, but it was of that magnitude. So he said it's just not worth it. It's not worth our time, because, you know, if people want it, they'll get it digitally. Then we have, you know, an acceptable profit margin. But he said if we trade that for physical release, then we make nothing. And there's not going to be another game, or there's not going to be support for the game or a patch after that, because we'll have to close down. So it's yeah. Apparently Europe, which I didn't know at all, but apparently Europe is super expensive to get physical releases done.
Yeah, you know, it's weird. You know, I will say it is a little different with video releases, where, you know, at least the way we're producing them, the margin isn't great, like you said. It is probably better than what you're talking about. But it goes back to a demand thing.
Yeah,
I'm 100% full for physical releases. I love physical releases. I still buy Blu-rays to this day. I still buy disc-based games, what have you. For a product like the video game gears, it probably makes sense, if we were to do a physical release, to do a limited quantity type of thing, and it would unfortunately be for a premium, because the smaller quantity you do it, the the profit margin does go down, and it costs more per disc to do 500 than 1,000 copies. That's something I think we might want to explore in the future. Right now, we just want to focus on getting season 2 out. But I've always been a fan, and like I said, I'm still a fan. I buy vinyl, I buy Blu-rays, and every once in a while, I even dabble in the CD or two.
Yeah, no, likewise. I prefer physical release, of course, as well. I'd probably try to source one from America when that game releases. But it's I was just shocked. I was actually shocked. Yeah, but for a video, especially for a program that exists already, or or if it's a re-release of an existing DVD, it's different. And also, if you're making a new season, obviously you can rely on stuff like Kickstarter as well to gauge the interest of all things. I know it's different. When you said the show was expensive to make, how expensive is one season of Video Game Years?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, when you said the show was expensive to make, so how expensive is one season of the Video Game Years?
That's actually a better question for John.
Oh.
He handled all the payouts and stuff like that. But
yeah, I'll have to do one of these with him as well. John is cool. He's a character, as I know.
Yeah, I mean, he is the father of video games. Video Game Years. I will say that.
So it was did he, when you say father, that it was his idea and he did the work? Okay.
Yep, he created the concept is, I love the 80s, but with video game, but it was his idea to move forward, and he used Retroware's asset, contributor wise, what have you, to because if it wasn't for Retroware, the Video Game Years wouldn't exist. We didn't have that pool of contributors that we had personal relationships with. It would have probably just been John and I on the show. And it is the personalities of everybody involved that really, I think, makes that show what it is.
Yeah.
Everybody's got different type of opinions, different styles, and it's nice to see all that conglomeration of different personalities come together and talk about video games.
Even for archive purposes, it's cool to have documented footage of LGR with long hair and a beard. What was he? He was. When I joined Retroware, he was still posting content on Retroware as well. But when did he join early as well? LGR,
who's that?
LGR, Lazy Game.
Oh, Lazy Game. That's what you're saying. I was like, he joined Retroware. Wow, a while ago. This was when Pushing Rosens was on the site as well.
Yeah.
They both have since departed the site. Not on bad terms at all. I think Retroware has always kind of been like an open door.
Yeah.
People kind of get their foot holding, and there's people that have their foot holding, like yourself, and so then just kind of stay. They're like, why not? But there's that whole personality thing where they want to kind of go out on their own. But it's funny because LGR was well established before he came to Retroware. And he's still, so I mean, I couldn't even tell you what year he came on. It's been a while, at least years. And it was just, I think I was actually referred to him, to be honest. And I just started talking to him. Super nice guy, super open. And so I'll be on Retroware, sure, why not? Yeah,
he was even at the time, even before he stopped posting on Retroware, he was big. His channel was big. I was like, wow, like he did. No offense, but he doesn't need.
No, exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he was very well established before he came to us, and it was an honor to be able to even have him on the site because he didn't, like you said, he didn't really need Retroware.
I love his channel. I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His humor is like nobody does his humor. You know?
No, yeah, exactly. I think
It's super dry, but like it's hilarious at the same.
Yeah, he's it's an example of a channel that has personality without being in your face about it, or without, you know, being just overly boisterous or yeah. It's yeah. If you don't know Lazy Game Review, check out its channel because it's
Yep.
fantastic. It's a lot of PC based stuff, a lot of tech stuff, but it's very humorous and without trying to be. Which, well, obviously he's trying to be humorous, but without forcing it. This is very clever. But yeah.
I mean, there's tons.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
What I was gonna say is there's tons of people now doing PC based reviews, but he was really early on doing that. And, I mean, PC, I don't want to say it was never not popular, but you know, compared to consoles, there's a lot of stuff on the PCs that people just didn't know.
Yeah.
So it was almost like when I first saw him, it was like a breath of fresh air to see, you know, all these PC games that I grew up with actually getting the spotlight, where everything's like Nintendo, Sega, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really cool, you know, what he does, and I'm super impressed with his PC box collection. You know, some of those PC boxes are like 2 inches, you know, like these 3-4 inch things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, dude, I don't have the room for that. But like,
yeah, he did
impressive how he's got.
He did a few tours of his collection, and oh, it's candy.
Yeah.
And then
I don't know why he never believed in, not till much later, small boxes. Everything was big.
Yeah.
You know?
But they have a charm. I've I don't know, I've probably 40 of them here, but there's something about the big box PC games. I have a few Amiga here as well, but something about the big box PC games. The art is so visible and in your face, and yeah, and everything is just the big manuals, and
yeah. I mean, I felt the same way about Laserdiscs. You know, I actually still buy Laserdiscs from here or there. It's just getting that larger format picture.
Yeah,
you know, it just looks cooler.
You can almost display them as a poster. It's yeah. You can't do that with a DVD or VHS tape. I never got the appeal.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna pause this real quick. I'll be right back. I'm gonna show you something.
I'll keep talking, but I've never fully understood the appeal of VHS tape collecting. Maybe I'm wrong. It's just I know for a fact they don't age well, and the quality just isn't quite the same. And then you don't get the bonus sections. But yeah, I think I distracted them. I don't think they realized you were gone.
So I mean, like, look at this. This looks cool. You know, this is a huge box. You know, it opens up. It's got all this cool stuff inside. You know?
Very cool.
They don't make it like that anymore.
No, what was that? That was a CD.
Star Trek Judgment Rights. It was like they did like a collector's edition, and when they put everything on the CD version.
I still go to car boot sales. We'll call them car boot sales here. They're flea markets and charity shops, which are your thrift stores. But I still go to a regular
Cherry Pops.
Charity shops. And
Charity Pops.
Yeah. And
like Cherry Pops. That's not like a.
I regularly find like really cool stuff, and the collector edition boxes as well. I have a few here for PC, but I find as well collector boxes. I don't take them because I don't collect for them, but for VHS and I've never seen CDs, but video discs. Sorry, but yeah, it's just really cool. There's still quite a lot here in Ireland. If you take the time to go out and collect, and you can find them for very cheap. I think it was last week.
Yeah, I mean,
I found a Commodore, a bread bin Commodore 64 for I think €15, which is about $20. You know, it's just yeah, there's still stuff out there. But all of that actually was prompted by LGR's thrifts and Pat's flea market stuff as well, and subsequently by the Game Chasers. But he's stopped doing that though. He's not interested in the flea market. What is it? Flea market madness stuff he was doing. I think they were quite popular though. I think people love to see.
I think he started getting too frustrated with doing it or something.
Yeah, probably can't find as much as he used to. But I think the Game Chasers mentioned that recently as well, that it was just getting harder and harder to come up with new episodes for them because there just isn't as much available. Not for the price they want to find it for.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of reflective of my personal being of being a retro video game collector. I had started, 12, 13 years ago, actually collecting stuff, and back then the stuff was available. Now you're paying a premium for everything, and stuff's just getting snagged up quicker, so quick that you don't even have the chance to get it. And that was part of the fun, is you're getting these deals, you were finding stuff, and now it's just so hard. You're just kind of like, well, kind of like you don't have the passion as much as you used to.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah, I don't go to I don't go as much as I used to. I used to be every weekend, and even during the week, I'd sort of a route on my way from work that I'd stop in different shops and just so I was there most days, just looking for stuff. And I did find most of my collection comes from either donations or stuff I found at car boot sales. Probably bar the MSX stuff, because you just don't find these in Ireland. That never made it to Ireland. But the rest, was found at thrift stores and flea markets. And I think part of it is the chase and just seeing the item on the moment. Like it's like those arcade machine raids we were talking about early on. I think part of it is the discovery and knowing what's there as you get in.
Well, it's funny because and this has happened recently, where you pick up and you're like, oh wow, look at this! It's this rare item. Like turn it over at $60. It's just like, no, that's the going rate. I don't want to pay the going rate. So,
exactly. Yeah, because you can get it on eBay.
Even at thrift stores here, we have Goodwills, and you go to Goodwill now, they price stuff what it's worth, and you're just like, oh.
I was shocked actually the last time Fiona and I were over in America after Retro World. We stopped in a lot of thrift stores and Goodwills and that kind of stuff. And the Goodwills, yes, had everything marked and itemized and marked up, and they'd done their homework as to what the things were worth, and which I never. I know you can argue that they need to get a fair price. And it's for charity, but then again, they're getting all that stuff for free. So,
oh yeah, there was a CD recorder literally last week. It's a dual deck CD recorder, and those are people use those for a bunch of reasons, recording optical audio and what have you. But like, oh, I kind of want that, and I'm expecting to pay like maybe $25-$30 for something they got free.
Yeah.
$222. I'm like, no, that's what it's going for on eBay. You got that for free, and you have the balls.
And I wonder, do they even sell it for that price? Is anybody going to buy it from them for that price?
Right. I mean, if at that price, why not just get it from somebody else?
Yeah, because then what's your market? Who are you trying to sell that to? Because these type of things, you're going to get people who are interested in these type of things, and if they're interested in these type of things, they know what it's worth, where they can get it for that price or even cheaper. So they go to when they see it in a place like Goodwill, they didn't go to Goodwill to look for something like that, or so they're not going to put that much money. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, and then again, maybe they do sell it for that price. Maybe people buy it. They wouldn't be asking otherwise. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what's the plan for Retroware looking forward?
Well, we partnered with Screenwave Media to actually handle the management of the site and the brand. So there's a couple things I really can't.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't want to discuss anything you don't want to discuss. So
yeah, no, but I mean, you know, there are plans to revamp it and do some new stuff. Nobody's getting booted off the site or anything like that, but you know, it got to the point where John and I have to pick where we focus our time, just because we both have families, both kids, and you know, full-time jobs. Retroware has always been a hobby, a hobby that's actually a business. It's an LLC, yeah. But you know, it got to the point where like the day-to-day stuff we just can't handle. We don't have time between, especially, you know, I do this, I do the expo, I do retro, I do my own videos. So it's something where we're still going to be part of it. It's just you know, the management of it. We need to hand that off, because it's just gonna, otherwise it's just gonna be a little too stagnant for our liking. So, you know, it was nice to find somebody who was interested in helping build a brand. So you know, so Screenwave, that's the plan, is to help do that.
That's good. That's that. I think it's the right choice for you as well. Like you said, like comes a point after a while, you know, especially if you have a family. I mean, you know, how much time can you put in a hobby if it stays stagnant, or if you're not as excited about it as you were before when you started? Because everything after a while, you know, you lose the excitement, I suppose. But and also the expo takes a shitload of your time, doesn't it? I mean, people think the expo happens one or 2 days, but that's actually months and months of preparation and planning.
Yeah, it's an all-year preparation. You know, I mean, do we do stuff every day, 365? Probably not, but you know, I deal with guests a lot, so you know, I'm reaching out to guests, trying to book them, trying to, you know, arrange certain things for them. You know, trying to get them to come. Yeah. Reaching out to people the first time, and actually it's a little nerve-wracking, but it, you know, takes up a lot of time. And then, you know, planning the actual expo, you know, things from tables to badges to programs, you know, just working with the venue and getting the right price, and just, it's an all-year thing. And I have really good partners with that. You know, Bill McGee and Chris Crone. You know, three of us are the owners of the expo, and all that stuff gets divvied, but there's just never enough time and never enough people to do everything we want to do. But I think we do a good job with what we got. And the expo every year keeps getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. We moved to a new venue last year, the Connecticut Convention Center. It was over 100,000 square feet of space we had there. We're going back next year, or this year now, and we're just trying to make it bigger, better. So no Banjo Guy Ali this year, unfortunately.
Or next year, no, and then yeah. But
no, it's you're in Ireland. What do you expect?
It's an expensive flight abroad. We did it 2 years. I went over 2 years, and
yes.
And I'm glad I did it then when it was small as well, because there was a nice. It was first. It was full. It was just packed. Like you know, the alleys were so busy and full. But it was nice as well because it was kind of almost family-like. In you know, hanging out with everybody and all that. There was small crowds. It didn't feel like there was a clique of different people here and there. Like it was actually everybody was together, and it was really nice. And so I'm glad I got to do it in that fashion before it gets too big. Because after a while, I suppose when it gets too big, it's going to be harder.
Yeah, you know, and full disclosure. I mean, that's last year was our first year at the new venue. And I've had a number of people tell me that, you know, the old venue, which was way tighter, you said felt a little closer. This last year, it was definitely more open. You had room to breathe. Well, people seem to like when it's crammed. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I prefer the openness, but
I prefer
no,
the space
totally
as well, but yeah.
yeah. I mean, I totally get it. It does have a different vibe, a more closer knit vibe. I mean, when we had more people than we had more people every single year. We've had more and more people,
Yeah.
and with the new space, you know, we had more people than that second year. Yet it wasn't crammed like year two. But we needed to, unfortunately, just due to,
of course,
you know, additional panel rooms and, you know, stages, band performances. That wasn't going to be a solid option for Oakdale, which we had years. So, but you know, it. Who knows? Every year, get more and more people. Maybe it will be as cramped as it was in the second year.
Yeah, I might yet go back. You know, it's just I have to plan a holiday around it. I can't justify the expense of flying over.
You have to make like a week and a half, 2 week thing out of it.
Yeah, so we'll do that. Maybe,
just to go for a turn and burn isn't worth it.
No. It's just yeah. Anyway, that's the joys of living in across the Atlantic. But I used to, and plus at this stage we've been to America, I think 4 or 5 times together. I've been over 7 times in my life. So we're thinking maybe we need to just go explore somewhere else for a while, maybe Canada or maybe New Zealand. Fiona would love. Fiona lived in New Zealand, so she'd love me to see it at some point. And I'd love to see it. It looks amazing. So, yeah. So maybe we'll do that. But I'll try and find a convention there somewhere I can I can insert myself in. But you know what was really cool? And maybe that's a retroware thing. But it was just seeing all these other YouTubers, the Game Chasers and Norm and Pat and many others. But a lot of them had left retroware. But there was still a sense that it was still sort of a retroware family in a way, that they hadn't quite left the retroware family. They'd left the site, but
yeah,
the family.
I mean, like it's never an animosity type of relationship at all.
Yeah.
I mean, no, Norm and Dan and their Norm is not on the site anymore, but one of my closest friends that I know. You know, having done all these, you know, videos and stuff like that, and knowing all these other contributors. So, I mean, we all keep in touch. You know, I text Jay and the Game Chasers every once in a while. You know, we have them back to Retro World Expo, you know, as guests. So it's always a good relationship with everybody who's on that site. And we all stay close knit, you know, like if I need something from Jay, I feel comfortable enough to still ask him for it. or like, you know, can you show up in this? You cut something or film something with Billy for us and send it over our way. They would do it. You know, they're cool like that, and vice versa. You know, so it's definitely a good relationship. And
yeah, it was just very nice to see that you know, just it was still a family. Like after all the people that went on the site, came on the site, left the site, and all that, you still had that sense that it was actually just a retroware family for that weekend, which was actually very nice to see. Yeah, that was cool. I think we've been chatting for over an hour here. I didn't even realize, but I don't know how your schedule is, but we can talk about other stuff for another hour if you want, or leave it there. But well, I didn't have any topics or questions to ask you, but I feel I've asked you everything I wanted to ask you about retroware. It was actually. Yeah, so as you said, Screenwave is going to take over retroware at some point. So us members, YouTuber members, we don't quite know what they're going to do. It'll be interesting actually to watch how they evolve the brand and what changes, if any, they make, or not, that kind of stuff. It'll be cool.
Yeah, I mean, like for people currently on there, there's really going to be like changes. From what I understand.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, that's the goal, is, you know, everybody who's on the site is going to still contribute to the site, and You know, you might see some new faces on there, and that's pretty much it.
You did a lot of writers as well.
The design of the site itself needs to be updated, but
yeah, you had a lot of writers on the site as well.
What was that?
You had a lot of writers on the site as well. A lot of contributors, people who write articles.
Yes, the writers. Yep, the writers remain intact as well. Part of the agreement we had with Greenway. They want everything. they want everything that's on that site to continue.
Yeah, of course. Well, because I was going to say the difference probably for them is obviously they need a platform. I mean, if you're a YouTuber, your platform is YouTube first and foremost, and you express your attachment to a group like Retroware, in you know, to some extent. But obviously, if you're a writer, you want to stay on that platform, and or you need to find yourself a new platform, or they probably have more of an interest in Retroware staying the way it is than guys like myself or the other YouTubers that are on it at the moment. But it's been, whatever happens, it's been a really cool ride. Can't thank you enough again for just asking me to join those 4 years ago.
No, man. I mean, I have to say, I mean, dude, you're like one of the most talented individuals, and I don't say that with your videos on what you do, just like everything you do, like your art, you're doing, you know, the stuff you do in your house and stuff like that. That, you know, I see these pictures every once in a while. I'm like, guy's too talented. I wish I could do half that stuff. But it's amazing.
Well, thank you.
And a pleasure to. I mean, I'm so glad I met you and been part of the Retroware family, and you know, it's a lifelong relationship. You know.
Yeah, and then, you know, next time we're over to the East Coast, we might stay with you for a day or two.
Yeah, doors always open, my man.
Dude, Lance Cortez, Ito Bandito, Retroware co-founding member. Thank you very much, sir, for doing this with me. That was awesome. It was nice to catch up. We hadn't talked in a few years now at this stage. Thank you very much, and folks, see you next time. Thank you.
Take care.